What is up, everyone? Welcome to Reality Room Podcast with Paul,
and Dave.
bringing you the latest on Survivor Ghost Island, Episode 5. Okay, guys, so Dave's back, and I forgot to take the volume off on my YouTube thing. So
Good job.
Dave's back, guys. So Dave, say hi.
What's up?
Yeah, he's been out for a few episodes, but now he's back in the groove.
I was about to introduce myself at the beginning of this episode.
All right, guys. So we just came off of a tribal council where Brendan was voted out of the tribe. It happens. The tribe was divided, the Malolo tribe, between the original Malolo and the original Leviti, which I still have to say until maybe next episode, where it's going to get even more confusing. But anyway, so the tribes were divided. One tribe had a numbers advantage, and they voted out Brendan. Although Mike tried to pull out a big play with the use of his idol, try to pretend it was like a double idol, which I thought was incredible the way he did it personally. So they get back. Actually, Dave, what did you think? Because we didn't get to hear your perspective on that episode. What do you think of Mike?
Well, first off, I was annoyed that Brendan left because I'm like, oh, there goes my male pick to win. So
yeah, both your picks have left now, right?
Well, no, I picked Angela. I said Stephanie Gonzalez was a close second to female, but she was the first one to go. But yeah, no, my thoughts were just oh, okay, my pick is out now. Let's just keep watching.
Yeah, I mean, you still got one then.
Yeah, that's really my only concern.
I'm still rooting for my girl Laurel. She looks like she's doing pretty well. All right, but back in the episode. So they get back from tribal council. Honestly, Bradley was I felt like in the previous episodes he seemed really cocky and kind of annoying, but it looks like he really humbled himself this episode, and I was impressed with the turn. He says that he kind of sees things from another perspective. He says that tribal was a wake-up call for him. And he also sees Mike as probably the biggest threat in the game at this point, because of how he was able to maneuver strategically during that tribal council and almost make it flip. Patty says, too much credit given to Michael. He played the idol wrong. Well, sure, but, there's only... In modern Survivor, everyone has the idea of how... everyone has the idea that if an idol is going to be played, who's it going to be played on? So even the tribe that's voting someone out has to make that determination. And it really was.
I did
Go ahead.
No, I mean, what I did though was the fact that he was hey, I have the person from Survivor China left with 2 idols, so he's I get to save 2 people with this, which I thought was going to shake things up a little bit, but then it was no, they all just kind of didn't really seem to care.
Yeah, it was.
'Cause I was surprised when he said that. I was oh, that's actually kind of smart. People could fall for that, but
yeah, it could have initiated the flip that he needed. It didn't, but it could have, and he sounds convincing.
He tried. He really did try his best on that. I thought he was going to convince people, but it was oh, okay, here we go. It didn't do shit.
Yeah, it didn't do shit. But so we're back at tribal. Not back at tribal. We're back at camp, and like I said, Bradley sees Mike as the biggest threat right now because of his strategic gameplay. Mike himself kind of feels defeated, knows that he didn't use the idol rights, and he understands, and him and the rest of the tribe, his side of the tribe, understand that they're on the bottom, and then they have some work to do, basically. Thoughts?
Simple. I just agree with you on that one, honestly. That's exactly just what's going on. We'll see what happens with it, really.
Patty in the chat says, I like Bradley. I think they intentionally lost this immunity challenge because they control the votes and now they have numbers advantage when swap or merge. I disagree with intentionally losing, only because of Kellen was really upset about the loss. So I don't think it was intentional. Plus, we would have saw an aside with him saying, ha, just as planned. We lost on purpose or whatnot.
Yeah, I agree with that too. But also, I mean, the thing with them losing is like like they have the numbers in that tribe, so it's like we're not really concerned.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into the reward challenge. So they had to leap over tables, they had to move some sandbags, pull a lever, get these smaller sandbags and throw them at targets, and have three flags pop down. First team to have the three flags pop down. Patty says she was faking it probably. Well, then she has to. They have to have an aside for that in the episode. Otherwise, then the viewer is out of the loop. I mean, if that is the case, Patty, then it was just bad editing on CBS's part. And they had to throw the sandbags at the targets, and the three flags come down, and whoever won got to get coffee and pastries. Not too bad.
Nope. Pastries did look good.
Yeah, and Donathan and Dominic were well Dominic was looking at the pastries.
Rolls.
What's that?
He was like screaming, wasn't he screaming out like cinnamon rolls, cinnamon rolls? He was like super excited. Then I was like, damn, I really want some cinnamon rolls right now.
Yeah, I want some cinnamon rolls too. Oh well, it's always we can talk about breakfast another time. Anyway, so
that has to be breakfast.
Preferably breakfast. All right, so let's. Well, I mean, if it's coffee and pastries is more of like a morning thing. Okay. Anyway, back to the challenge. So really, what happened was they were pretty much on even footing during the challenge. But Chris starts to kill it. Like he has like a killer arm. They even said after the challenge that he played baseball, and I was like, wow. Okay, so he was like nailing everything.
He played baseball as a pitcher.
Right. So there you go. I mean that explains it pretty much right there. By the way, guys, if anyone else is watching live, to see a few of you are, please sure to talk down in the chat. So, ask us any questions that you want, observations that you've had, thoughts on what's going to happen next episode, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, we read all that out loud and create more discussion.
Absolutely. So, Navidi wins, which, pretty obviously, because they dominated the challenge. With Chris. Sebastian couldn't really throw too well. He was missing a lot of his shots, so I guess they picked really. It was a really good decision to have Chris be the one to throw. Right?
Yeah. I mean, again, pitcher throwing.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just like those things that you just do.
Yeah, absolutely. So they get back from winning the challenge. And Donathan and Laurel have like a little talk or whatever. Donathan talks about, I believe it was his grandmother, right? That he has to like take care of at home.
Yeah, it was her. I think he said like she has a disability, and he just felt bad for leaving her. As everyone does in Survivor. I feel bad for leaving my family.
Right. And Donathan said the coffee and pastries really reminded him of home. And Chris kind of noticed that Donathan was feeling a little down.
I don't know if it's worth noting that he was talking to Laurel about all this, which is strengthening their relationship even further.
Yeah, that just shows that they already have like this closeness, but also shows Chris has like this observational side of him that he was able to see like the distress that Donathan was in and kind of talk to him on a very emotional level, which really gives me the sense that Chris is going to make it far in this game, even more so than we originally thought. What did you think?
And that was my opinion of it. Was like that was smart of him, because it's like, okay, like this is he said like, I can relate to things with my mother, so it wasn't like it was made up just to relate with him. It's like, hey, let me take advantage of this situation and form an actual friendship, because he's like, Donathan is the person who we spoke to the least in the tribe thus far. So it's funny because like I think it's interesting because it's like a lot of times when I see like this game, I feel like a lot of players decide to separate strategic and friendship. It's like, you're friends with people, but then you're going to backstab them because of the game. But this one was like a happy medium between friendship and strategic, where it's like you really are building a solid foundation that could possibly carry you.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like how Spencer viewed the game his second time around. Like he really saw it. He really saw that it was more of like you have to play more of a social game to get further. And then that really is what you have to do. Like the social game is a pivotal point. I mean, I think Zeke in his two, well, more in his first season, but in both of his seasons, really perfected like the social game, kind of building relationships with people in order to get further. And I think that's what Chris was doing with Donathan this episode, and Donathan was even questioning whether or not they should go after Chris, which I guess is mission success on Donathan's on Chris's part rather.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's how you play the game. I mean, like we should know already. Like this is all about the social factor. I mean, like we see like all the Survivor stuff, but the Survivor stuff is just the setting. The social part is really the game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Stephanie actually went to Ghost Island. They pulled rocks again, which is basically going to be the trend, I think, until there's some consensus, because the tribes are still so divided. Just
Maybe I don't even think it's just divided. I feel like they just don't. Well, yeah, because they want to send like their people or who's other people, but I feel like they just kind of don't care at this point. It's like someone's got to go, something will happen. It just
yeah,
look. It's like the safer thing on everyone's part.
leave it to fate, I guess. Although at this point, you want to send someone that you're close with. Like if it's after a reward challenge, you want to send someone that you're close with uh, to Ghost Island so they could possibly get an advantage. It's like this weird.
But at the same time, there's a suspicion of this person could have an advantage. So maybe that might counter into like the whole fact of like, hey, I might want to vote this person out because they have an advantage.
And that's what happened to Stephanie this episode, which we'll get to. Patty says in the chat, just curious about why nobody tried to throw Chelsea under the bus for failing miserably at the immunity challenge. She kept falling and fell off the boogie board. How come Malolo didn't say it to Bradley?
I was wondering that too, to be honest. And then I was just like, I guess it's not a big deal to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that something could have been said, but it could have been said to Bradley in the episode that just wasn't shown. But I guess the sense really was that it was one of the three of them going home, or maybe that's just the mindset they created for themselves, and that's the mindset that was shown in the episode. So maybe they didn't even try. I mean, I don't know. Mike said he tried everything he could.
True, and then by then Jeff was even saying like, oh, like when he was announcing that challenge, he was like, well, it's neck and neck again. Like both teams caught up, and like the people who failed the puzzle were apologizing more so than Chelsea.
Yeah, which is interesting.
I thought that was interesting because they didn't mess up as much as Herb. I mean, she just slipped off the board. I mean, just it's like one of those like, hey, I'm at my physical limit, or whereas a puzzle, it's like, hey, like there's no physicality here. It's just the mental part.
Right. I mean, she did run it twice. So,
yeah, no, the first time was pretty solid. I think the second time was where she started messing up pretty badly.
Yeah, probably shouldn't have went for the second time. For sure.
I did find it interesting that there were no repercussions for her, but again, it was just is.
So back to Stephanie at Ghost Island. She hits the thing and nothing's there, and she's basically like, "Well, damn."
So does this confirm the whole fact that we keep on saying that you have to hit each one consecutively, or do you think that they're all just doing that like that?
I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think you have to hit it consecutively, but I think that's just what everyone's doing.
But yeah, because like that's my whole issue now is like this whole Ghost Island thing is now starting to get on my nerves because like the whole real gimmick of the season has hardly been used. I think like what we've maybe got like 2 or 3 of them that like someone actually got something.
Well, I mean, we had a legacy advantage, which Dominic now has, so there's still something. Although Kellen could have potentially got something last episode, but she didn't take it. It's mostly no's. I think next episode we might see something interesting.
Yeah, maybe because of a tribe swap.
I think next episode we're going to see. Well, I'll talk about how I think the tribe breakdown is going to go at the end of this. Okay. But let's go back to the immunity challenge. We already talked about it for the most part. So let's see. So they had to like get a bag. They had to run across like this beam across the water. They had to grab a bag. Then they had to like the teammates had to like pull something to push like a boogie board towards the shore with them on it with the bag. They had to do that 3 times. Then they had to figure out the lock combination to a safe based on what was in the bag. Then they had to get a key and unlock a slide puzzle which spelled Ghost Island. So I mean, we already basically talked about what happened, with Chelsea and how Kellen was apologizing. I mean, the winner of the challenge was Navidi. So they've been on a roll with challenges lately. I think did they win the last? They won the last 4 challenges when you think about it. If you're
Yeah,
including rewards, so good for them because they were on a losing streak for a long time.
yeah, they're on like a pretty dominant streak, which kind of calls for a tribe swap.
It certainly does, especially because Malolo's breakdown is so boring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just not fun to watch Malolo when like a 5-person alliance just rules everything. Like that's so like that's so like that's so Survivor like 10 years ago. Like let's move on with that.
I mean, it's boring to watch, but again, if you're playing the game, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But again, viewers' perspective, it's like this is what we want to see. Like if you're playing the game, it's like this is exactly what I want to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It depends because sometimes you're on the bottom of that, and it's kind of like, okay, well, what can I do to like project myself even further forward in this game? Especially now that you see that maybe the other tribe isn't as gung ho about the original tribes as your tribe now is, as your tribe still is. It's just something to consider. So let's get back to it was really between Mike, Jenna, and Stephanie. It was honestly, I didn't know who was going. Did you have any idea? I thought it was going to be Mike.
Yeah, I feel like Mike would have been the logical target, but because Mike would have been the logical target is why I didn't think he would go. I didn't think it would be Stephanie at any point, just because I feel like they keep building her story and she gets so much screen time. But because of that, it's also the reason why she could have went and probably did. I guess when you try to look at it from the editing point of view, like there's a lot of hints there as to like
Yeah.
what's going to happen in the series. But yeah, I feel like Mike would have been the target, but I feel like again it's like he's too obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it really could have gone any direction, I think. And, like you said, maybe Stephanie wasn't the most expected choice. But again, she did also get that advantage, and maybe they were trying to flush it out, whatever it was.
Well, that's what I
Uh,
know. I forgot who said that, but somebody
Desiree?
said like it might have been her, and maybe somebody agreed with her afterwards. But everyone, like again, like the fact that she had the advantage to play a role in her being voted out.
I mean, Desiree like looked through her bag and didn't find anything.
Mm.
Oh. So let's talk about what every individual person did to try to get themselves to stay. So first off, we have Kellen. I believe talks to Chelsea, and they both wanted Jenna out. And then Jenna flirted with Sebastian, started like braiding his hair or whatever. And then like they got together and they're like, okay, maybe we'll switch to Stephanie. Um, all the and then Bradley is talking to people about potentially getting Michael out of the game, saying that he's the biggest threat to them at this point. Then we have then we have Mike talk to Bradley, and he's like, "Listen, use me for challenges. You're gonna need me." I'm not sure that conversation sunk in, but maybe it did, and that's the reason why he stayed. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff going on, and Desiree looking through Stephanie's bag. Like, what did you think about all this? Do you think maybe they gave up too easily? Because they seem to be protecting themselves rather than, like maybe looking for an
Well,
idol,
yeah,
which we know should be back in play because one was just used.
That's true. I mean, you had Mike who's just straight up said he's like, I'll just vote for whoever they want at this point. Like he's just like, hey, we're screwed. But I mean, like that's really it. I mean, it's at this point of the game where I believe, like you have those three of them. Everyone else, there are three people fighting against the majority at this early in the game. There's pretty much no way you're going to switch this. I mean, maybe if there's like a merge scenario, like people would be like, they'd be trying to fight harder because maybe they could sway votes. But they all know that they have to survive just the next tribe swap or to the merge. So it makes no sense for them to have to split up the alliance.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's certainly true. I mean, if there is a tribe swap, I guess they would still be working together.
Yeah, I mean, they would largely be working together depending on how the tribes are broken down. But again, for this part of the game, it's like, they could eliminate all three people before, like, their worst case scenario, they would have three people to eliminate before they'd have to go into some sort of merge or tribe swap.
Mm.
And we know it's not going to take three more people for that to happen. So it's like, why break this up when we could carry this through longer?
I mean, it is going to take three people though.
No, I know that, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, it's like, why do we have to betray this alliance? And for the three people that are trying to survive, it's like there really is no hope for any of them.
Right. Well, I guess the tribe swap will
The
shed some
tribe,
light.
the tribe swap can absolutely change things up, but at this exact stage of the game, there's no hope for any of those three.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So let's go into tribal. It was a lot of like diversion, kind of like, oh yeah, we talked, we know it's one of us. Mike sounded a little depressed. Stephanie sounded very depressed. Jenna sounded very depressed. I mean, they all sounded upset, which is
I
the
mean,
natural way to do it.
the majority of this tribe swap was like, hey, let's pretend like something different could happen. Oh, okay. Well, we all like, all right, so let's get to the point where we're not going to pretend anymore. And then Jeff is like, all right, the three of you who are on the bottom, each one of you make a case as to why you should stay. That's
Yeah,
basically it.
that's basically what it was, and it's kind of like why I wasn't too into this episode. There wasn't really like a suspense factor. Like the episode tried to generate some suspense, um,
We did.
by saying, "Oh, it's going to be one of the three. Which one is it going to be? Who knows?" But
Yeah,
at
okay,
the end of the
there we
day,
go.
it's
That's the
still one of the
suspense
three.
generation.
I like all of the three personally. Well, what did you think about their decision to vote out Stephanie?
Made sense. Like, there's logic to it. She's smart. We've seen her pull strings earlier in the game. Meanwhile, you and I, when we did the cast analysis, we were like, she's not going to do anything in this game. So she played a role. She got a lot of screen time where you could simply, you feel bad for her leaving. It's like, hey, I want my kids to have someone to look up for. It's like, okay, it's understandable. Like, that's cool. But at the same time, it was just like, well, she left. She got voted out because of strategic reasons, and Desiree and others in the tribe, I'm assuming, thinking like, okay, she could have an advantage.
She was an early boot, but I can see them potentially bringing her back just because she has like that the right personality for this game. So I could potentially see them. And I was also thinking that if Mike was voted out, they could potentially bring him back too. So I really so I mean honestly, I mean those
No,
two
she
really have,
definitely stands out.
yeah, they both stand out to me, and Stephanie definitely they gave her a lot of airtime for a reason. I guess for this big blind side to the viewer, as it were. It was the viewer that got blindsided today. I mean, it's like what you said before. Like, they show someone a lot, some earlier episodes, only to see their big demise, basically, because that's the way their editing process is done. Sometimes, and it's kind of hard to discern the difference. Like maybe that's what they're doing with Chris too. Who knows? Maybe Chris is going to leave in 2 episodes. I doubt it, but you never know.
I think he'll make it to the merge.
I think so too. Probably three more votes until the merge. If I had to guess, maybe 4.
I'd say about 3. Yeah, I'd say about 3 votes. Honestly, probably.
They usually do.
I'd say 3 is a good amount.
Yeah, they usually do a 12-person merge nowadays. But we'll see what happens. All right, so Stephanie's voted out. I don't know what this means for Mike or Jenna, or I didn't know what it meant for them until we saw the scenes for the next episode, which basically said, "Hey, there's a tribe swap coming." So there's 15 people left in the game, which means that they could do a couple of things here. They could either do 3 tribes of 5. They could do 2 tribes of 7, have one, and then have 1 tribe of 1 where the person goes to Ghost Island, and then the loser of the next challenge gets that 1 person after they vote someone out of tribal. Like, we see that happen a few times. So there's a couple of directions like we can really go here. What do you think, Dave?
I think it's going to be the 3 teams of 5 just to give us something different, because I felt like the tribe swap in this season happened way too early.
How did that work with Ghost Island, though? Would they take the team that got last place? Or, maybe that's why they started to do it during reward challenges. Because when there's 3 tribes, it's typically a first place and second place reward. I guess maybe that's
maybe it. I mean, yeah, maybe, because like I said, like now that they're doing Ghost Island during reward challenges, that means that Ghost Island no longer gives you safety from tribal council. So yeah, maybe Ghost Island is a reward, or maybe there's like I don't know.
Yeah, Ghost Island will be done after the reward challenges, because that's the only way there's really like a 3rd place team. Because during immunity challenges, well, no, I guess 2 tribes win immunity too, don't they?
Yeah.
No, never mind. Well, it's all the same to me, I guess. Though doing it during immunity. Go ahead.
We'll figure out how they do Ghost Island. I mean, I don't know. I'm really not excited about the Ghost Island twist because I feel like not much has come from it yet.
Yeah, it's been pretty disappointing as of late, especially when Kellen didn't take the advantage last episode. I'm kind of it makes sense, but
like all it's really been, in my opinion, is like, hey, this person went to Ghost Island and now gets their own screen time where they monologue about how I'm alone and I miss people.
Woe is me, I am by myself. However shall I cope with this cruel world? By the way, here's my backstory.
And then they get their rice cooking montage. And that's
and then Stephanie gets her rice cooking montage. I don't know, man. Sometimes it doesn't even. Seeing Chris's was good. But,
Kellen's was kind of stupid. He had story that can build.
Yeah, Stephanie's was good too, but of course it just disappointed the viewer, like we said before.
Well, hers was good, but I feel like it was like elaborating more on her. Actually, yeah, hers was good. I can't say anything about it. It was good.
Yeah. It was like
that's why I was surprised she left a little bit.
It was the glimmer of hope that just got poofed out. Like this was like Stephanie's episode, like the despair or whatever, or like her foil. Well, not really her foil. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, pretty much, because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, I guess you could see how maybe it would have blindsided somebody, because it's like, hey, like I'm gonna go far for my kids. It's like, well, I hope they're proud of how far I did go.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing.
The episode is definitely edited in a way where you feel bad for her, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's what happens.
Yeah, welcome to Survivor. I do think they could potentially bring her back, though, because of her personality. All right, so I guess we'll end it there. Thank you guys for watching. Hey, the 2 of us are back. Hey, maybe even we'll get Chris for an episode. All right, so
just a random video from Iowa probably coming.
Yeah, expect a random video from Chris from Iowa. What is he doing? Who knows? Wink, wink. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Please give us a like down below if you enjoyed this video. Didn't enjoy it, give us a dislike. Whatever. We all have our taste, right?
And we'll dislike you.
Yeah. I don't really care. But I don't. Look, everyone has their opinions. Everyone has their opinions. Also, please subscribe to our channel. Those of you who don't know, YouTube has changed their policy where we can no longer be monetized unless we have 1,000 subscribers. If you look at our subscriber count, we have about 600 something. So please help us to reach that 1,000 subscriber milestone so we can once again be monetized, and so we can stop, yelling at YouTube at the end.
Saying this at the end of every video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, in the description down below, we have our Patreon link if you wish to support us monetarily. So check out the link down below. And if you donate $3 or more, we will personally shout out your name at the end of every episode every video that we put out. So let me start with the shout outs right now. I want to give a big shout out to Patty, Peggy, and Peter. It's the big 3 Ps, supporting the Reality Room podcast. I want to thank you.
If your name doesn't start with a P, you could also support our Patreon anyway, which also happens to start with a P.
Yeah.
Patreon.
And my name starts with a P too. Hey. So
and my name's Dave.
Yeah, and his name's Dave. So even if your name doesn't start with a P, you can donate to our Patreon and we'll still shout your name out. Huh? Not too shabby, right?
No.
And it's especially handy.
$3.
And it's especially handy during the times we're pulling out a lot of videos, which we're going to be doing soon. All right, so I want to thank you guys again for watching. Dave, last words?
See you next week, I guess.
Yeah, see you next week. Let me know what you think of my new glasses in the comments, maybe. Until next time, peace.